If you have any questions, please go down into the question box and type it in. Otherwise, we are going to get started. Suzanne is going to do the presentation today on the data mining, which is actually an interesting topic. We get this all the time, and we got to think sometimes out of the box when it comes to getting data out of the system. We always want to write a report, but there are different ways of getting our data out, and Suzanne is going to show us how to do that today. So with no further ado, Suzanne, why don't you go ahead and take over?
Okay, thank you, Sue, and good morning, everyone. There are several ways, like Sue said, to get information out of our Sage 100 database. There's lookups, there's standard reports, there's customizing standard reports. There's also the Business Insights Reporter, custom lookups, the Microsoft Query, and then also custom crystal reports. And we're going to be looking at those last three today. So custom lookups, Microsoft Query, and the custom crystal reports. And I'll be honest, I oftentimes forget about the custom lookup. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at creating a custom lookup in customer maintenance. So if I click on the magnifying glass, that brings up the standard customer list. And as you can see, we have customer number, customer name, status, zip code, phone number, and sort field. And right down here, there's a little icon that lets me export this information to Excel. But maybe I want some additional information, and a really easy way to get that is to create a custom lookup. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this custom button, and what I'm interested in is I'm going to create one that's based on the last activity date. So for my description, I'm going to type last activity. I do not want this to be my default view, so I'm going to leave that checkbox unchecked. However, you could decide that you want to create a lookup that is the default every time you click on that magnifying glass. So I hit the Tab key and I hit the next button, and that brings up all of the fields that I could include in my custom lookup. So you can see on the left is the available fields. And if I scroll down, I have all the fields that are in my customer table, and then I get down to the bottom, and I could actually even come in and link fields from another table. So if I wanted the AR division, the description instead of just the number, I could get that. If I wanted a salesperson name or additional information about a salesperson, I could link in that from the salesperson table. But we're going to stay within the in the customer maintenance table today. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to bring over the additional fields that I want to be able to display in my lookup. So I think I want the AR division number, and so that's highlighted. So if I click this Add button, then that brings it over. Now just a reminder, this would add all, so I probably don't want to do that. This would remove all, and then if I highlighted a field, this would remove that one field. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to add, let's see, I think I already have the customer number, so I'm going to scroll down, and I want the date of last activity. Now, unfortunately, these are not in alphabetical order, so you do kind of have to look around maybe for the information that you're looking for. And then maybe I want the, let's see, what else do I want? I want the last payment date. I got that. I want the last payment amount, and I want the current balance. Okay, so I've got my fields. Now, things maybe I don't want. So here's all my selected columns. So maybe I don't really care about the zip code or the phone number. So again, I highlight those fields and click the Remove button. Now, the other thing you can do is you can change the order. So you don't have to wait until you get into Excel to move your columns around. So maybe what I want to do is I want to move things around. So maybe I want the AR division number to move up after the customer number, and then maybe I want the sort field to come up here after the name. Now, one last thing is we will look at these two amount fields. So if I highlight last payment amount and modify, you can see that if this is a negative, that negative is going to show at the end of the number. And because of the way Excel works, I want to move that to the beginning. Otherwise, Excel would treat that as a text field. So I'm going to click OK, and then on my current balance, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to delete that minus sign from the end, and I'm going to move it to the beginning. And I'm going to click OK. Now, the next thing I want to do is I just want to make sure that this is all the information I need. So I have customer number, AR division number, name, sort field status, date of last activity, last payment amount, and current balance. So if I click the next button, then here I can enter any filters. So maybe, for example, on this one, I want to say any time where the date of last activity is less than the beginning of the year, so January 1st of 2015. And then I click my next button. Now, the important thing to remember is this filter will be static within your lookup. So you can also, filter later. I just wanted to show you that that is an option for you. Then we get here. So then we have a title for our lookup. So I'm going to change my title to last activity is less than 01/01/2015. And again, you have a default search column, so you can default on any of those. And again, you can do a default search option, begins with, ends with, etc. So now I'm finished. So I click the Finish button. And when I come back, you'll see that my view is still my standard view. But if I click that down arrow, I can now go to Last Activity. And it tells me that I have filters. That's why it's red. And so now you see I have my new view, my new lookup. Customer number, AR division, name, sort field, status, date of last activity, last payment amount, and current balance. And now if I want to export that to Excel, I just click my Excel button. And there it is. So I have all of that information in Excel. And based upon what I have, I could do any kind of math, inside of Excel. Now, the important thing to remember is any changes that I would make would not be saved back into the lookup. So if I needed to do some kind of calculation, I would have to repeat that each time. So that is our first way to get data out of the system. And like I said, we have clients that use this extensively. We have a client that uses this for information on salesperson commission. So this is a really powerful tool. You can set up to 99 of these custom lookups. So I think probably just as much information as you can think of, you could actually set up in your system. So we are going to close this, and we're going to move on to our next method, which is the Microsoft Query. Now, the Microsoft Query is powerful. The drawback is sometimes it's a little slow. So, but it's always worthwhile to try that. It's something that you can try on your own, and it may be very, very beneficial for you. So we are going to close our lookup. We're going to close here, and we're going to move over to a new sheet. So I'm going to close this guy. I don't want to save it, although you can certainly do that. And we're going to go to File, New. I want a blank workbook. And here we are. So to do a Microsoft query, I click on the Data tab. On this Get External Data, I do From Other Sources from Microsoft Query. And this brings up a list of all the available data sources. So based upon, the information in your system, you would have different, different databases, but you want to look for this SOTA Mass 90 database. I'm going to click the OK button, and it's going to make me log in. So I'm going to log into my company. And now I get my query wizard where I can choose my columns. So we are going to, you can choose multiple tables, but ours today is just going to be one. So we're going to get information out of the sales order history header table. So I scroll down. Now these are in alphabetical order, so that's really nice. So I scroll down to the sales order history header. And if I highlight this and click this add button, that would add all of the columns, all of the fields into my query. Well, I don't want all of them. I just want certain ones. So I'm going to click this plus sign, and I'm going to go, and the first one is sales order number. Again, these are not in alphabetical order, so you kind of have to look, but everything is there. So I want the sales order number, and you see once I've added the column, it's no longer available on the left, which is nice. Then I'm going to do order date, and I want order status. I want the AR division number. I want the customer number, and then I'm going to grab the bill to name, and I'm going to scroll down and get the customer PO number and the warehouse code, and then I want some amount fields. So I'm going to grab all of my amount fields that would be related to a sales order. So let's go down here. Okay, keep going, discount, and you can see all of the fields. So that's why I want to grab all of these, because I would have all this stuff, then I'd have to go into Excel and get rid of, oops, I missed the taxable amount, and then I got the freight amount. Oh, why not take the deposit amount too? So that brings all my columns over here into columns in your query. So now I'm going to use my, again, I have up and down arrows so I can arrange the order. So maybe I want the customer number to be first and the bill to name. And then I got the sales order number. I want the division number up here. And then I have the customer PO number. Then, whoops, went too far. So again, you just manipulate the information. And then maybe I want the non-taxable. Then I want the taxable. Then if there was a discount, and then I want sales tax, freight, and deposit. So that's all of my information. So then I can go next. Now again, in your query, you can filter. So maybe I only want a particular division number, or maybe I want a range of division numbers. Maybe I want a range of customer numbers, a range of order dates, or a range of order status. So you could, highlight and then, pick. Again, you have your only include rows where AR division number is equal to X. But we're going to leave those blank. I'm going to bring over everything. And so I'm just going to get out of this, and I'm going to go next. And then you can sort. So if I want to sort by in a particular order, I want to sort by order date. So maybe that's what I want to do. I want to do order date ascending. So I want the earliest order dates to appear first. Then on the last screen, I have the option to save my query. So I can just return data to Excel, or I can save my query. Now, if this is something that I'm going to want to run every month, then I do want to go ahead and save that. So I'm going to click the Save Query. Now that opens up a default directory, and I recommend that you go ahead and save your queries into this default directory, and then that way this will be the default directory that Excel will look in the next time you go to run it. And then that way you don't have to say, gosh, where did I save those queries, and start trying to locate them. So you can just give it any name. So I'm going to do, and I usually recommend no spaces. I just find that easier. That's a personal preference. You can do it either way. And then I'm going to click Save, and then I'm going to click Finish. Now it asks me, how do I want to view this data in my workbook? So I can view it as a table, a pivot table report, a pivot chart. So I'm just going to view it as a table. So I'm going to click OK. And again, it's going to want me to log in. Remember which company I'm in. And here I am with all of my information. And as you can see, this comes in as a table versus just a regular spreadsheet. So the nice thing about that is, if I wanted to filter once I get my data in, I can certainly do that. So I could uncheck this and say maybe I'm only interested in Division 2. And then I get only my Division 2 clients. Then this little symbol tells me that I have a filter, so I know that that's not all of the information. And if I want to come back, I can do Select All and click OK. Now, I can also manipulate the data in here. So maybe I want to get total sales amount. So I want to insert a column, and I want to insert it to the left, and I want that to be total sales. So I hit the F2 key to edit it, and I'm going to do total sales amount. And what is my total sales amount? It is non-taxable plus taxable, and that fills it into every row in the table. And I could do the same thing. I could do, total sales order amount. I could do total sales order amount less deposit. So any kind of manipulation that I wanted to do, I could go ahead and do in there. The nice thing about this one is I can refresh. So if I can keep these columns and then just come back and refresh each time, or I can rerun the query. Now, if I rerun the query, it will not remember these calculated columns. So that is something very important to remember. So if, just to kind of show you how the process that you would go through to rerun the query, let's exit out of here. And I'm going to say don't save. I'm going to go back to Excel. I'm going to go to Data. Now this time, instead of from other sources, I'm going to get it from an existing connection. And you can see these are all of the connections that I have, all the queries that I have available to me. I can click Open. I can click OK. Log in. Now maybe I want to log into a different company. Maybe I have 3 or 4 companies and I want to run this same query for each company. Well, I could do the same thing there as well. I click OK, and there's my query. And as you can see again, this did not maintain my formula. So that's something to be aware of. Now, I just used one table. I could have gotten information from the sales order history detail and then, extended my information. But again, if I had then brought in, 3 or 4 items, all of, for this particular sales order number, let's say sales order number 170 had 2 items on it, it's going to repeat all of this header information for each of the detail rows. So I don't want to do any totaling on that because then that would duplicate my amount. So you have to be careful with these queries that you don't mix header and detail and give yourself some false information. But it is a nice tool to use. Again, it's nice because if I, if I want to just get particular customers, I can uncheck that, and maybe I just want this guy and this guy and this guy. And so you have all of that kind of filtering in Excel that you can use and still be, have that information. And like I said, based upon your database size, that's how long the query is going to run. So sometimes it's prohibitive just because you might have so much information that the query takes a long time to run. But then, that may be something you're interested in doing, and you just, set it to run and go get a cup of coffee and come back and you have your information. So it is a nice tool. It's something that I hope you'll find useful. And if you have any questions, you can always give Sue and I a call.
Well, Suzanne, there actually is a question out here.
Okay. And
one of the questions is, if you save a query, will it still be available after a mass upgrade? Now, that question is kind of, the answer is yes, the query will still be out there. However, if we have had a situation where Sage has changed the file names or the field names that they have done in the past, your query may need to be edited or may need to be rewritten. Now, we are not anticipating any big changes anymore in our field names, except there's going to be some new additions in 2016, well, actually 2015 and 2016, I believe, for definitely for the PO module. But yes, the query should be still out there. As long as the field names haven't changed, it should still run. Now, we do have another question here. Under the Microsoft query, if you have saved the total sales column you created, would it save up in the query? And I believe, Suzanne, correct me if I'm wrong, the answer to that is no, it will not.
It will not. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, it doesn't. Just like now, I reran the query, and you can see I don't have that total sales amount. The query is only the information that you get from the database. It does not contain any formulas. But if you were to save the Excel file, then you could come back and refresh. So you could refresh your data, and it would go back out, and it should, that would be the way you would want to do that. So if you add a lot of columns, you would want to look to using the refresh versus rerunning the query from scratch.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Okay. Oops, and I didn't log in. So
that's good. Yeah, she's getting that because she didn't log in, so it gets mad.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope. I believe that's it.
Okay. Great. So we're going to close out of Excel. I'm not going to save my changes. And we're going to go back to our old standby, which is the Crystal report. Now, my little bonus is, as you can see up here on my taskbar, if I click this right here, that is going to open up Crystal. So I don't have to go to my start, locate my Crystal, or go back to my desktop. I have that available to me right here inside of Sage. And that's a real easy. All you do is you right-click and you add. I added a program, and then I've navigated to Sage, Crystal Reports, SAP, Win32, x86, and that's where I located this CRW32.exe. So if anybody would like to do that, then, and you need any help, then just give us a call and we'd be happy to do that. But I have that as well as Adobe up here. And then if I needed to add more and I ran out of space, you can see I highlighted over the splitter and I was able to move that so that now I have additional space over here to add even more programs that I can run from inside of Sage. So we have Crystal Reports open. We're going to do just a really quick and easy report. Again, I know Sue's mentioned this, I've mentioned this. You must have the full version of Crystal installed on your workstation in order to do Crystal reports, in order to customize a standard report. You always have to have the full version of Crystal installed on your workstation. So if you don't find that, then that means, either contact us, contact your integrator, and, get that installed. So we're going to do a real, like I said, we're just going to do an easy report. We're going to look at sales order history detail and sales order history header. So we're going to do a new standard report. The first thing you do is you see your list of connections. I do have several connections, so I'm just going to use an existing one. If you need help with creating a new connection because you don't have one, just let us know. We'd be happy to help you with that for the first time. Again, I'm going to pick my database and I'm going to log in. And that brings up a list, again, of all the tables. Now, this looks really similar to what we just did in the Microsoft query, with the exception you don't see the plus sign. So when you start in Crystal, you bring over the entire table first, and then you will pick your columns. So we're going to scroll down. Again, this is nice because it is in alphabetic order, so SO for sales order, and we've got a little bit too far. And we are going to get the detail table, and we are going to get the header table. Then my next is, it shows me the links. So how are these two tables linked together? Well, they're linked together by the sales order number. Now, sometimes you might get, 3 or 4 links between two tables, and some of them may not be really of value. And all they do sometimes is add time onto your query and the amount of time it takes to run the report. So this is good. I'm going to go from, my link is from my sales order history detail table into my sales order history header table. Now, some people would tell you that it needs to be the other way. In this particular instance, it doesn't really matter which way you go, but a lot of people that look at Crystal would say you go from the big table to the little table. So I would go from the header table into the detail table. So if I needed to do that, I could just reverse the link. If I wanted to look at what the link looks like, I would click on link options. So this just tells me I'm going from my header sales order number into my detail sales order number. And we won't concern ourselves with the joins. We're just going to accept those. Sometimes I know you see Sue or I saying, well, is it an inner join? Is it a left outer join? Those are the two most common, and sometimes we have to change those in order to get you the information that you need in your report. This one, an inner join, is just fine. I'm going to click the next button. And then this brings up a list of all the fields in both of the tables. So I have the fields in the history detail table, again, because it's alphabetic order. And then I scroll down and I get my history header fields. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the history header. Again, I want the AR division number. I want the bill to name. I want the customer number, customer PO, and I want the order date, and I want the sales order number. Then I'm going to go back up to my detail table, and I have aliases for these customers. So I might want the alias number. Then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to grab the item code description. And you can, I don't know if you can see this, but what happens is when I move a field over, then it kind of moves down with a light gray highlight, and that's why I was able to go item code, item description by just clicking the add button without having to actually select that field. Then I'm going to go down a little bit lower, and I'm going to get original unit price, and I'm going to get quantity ordered original. And I think I'm happy with those. Now I can do the same thing. I can change the order. So if I wanted to move the customer number before the bill to name, I could do that. I could have done that based upon the order that I selected the fields. So either way, then I'm going to click the next button, and this gives me the option to group. So, you know, do I want to group this by customer number? Do I want to group it by order date? Do I want to group the report by item code? I'm going to leave the groupings off. You can always add groupings later. So a lot of times it's easier just to see the data and then say, oh yeah, you know, I'd really like to see that by customer number. And the nice things about grouping is it allows you to put in some subtotals. So if I group by customer number, then I could put in some subtotals by customer number. So I'm going to click the next button, and again, just like you saw in our other data mining tools, you can filter. So do I want to filter based upon a division number? You know, maybe I'm only really interested in, you know, a particular division or group of divisions. I'm going to leave that one alone. Again, you can always filter later. And then, you know, available templates. We always just select the no template, and then I'm going to click the finish button. So what that does is that opens up my information in the preview tab, and so I can see the data that I've selected. Now, as you can see, my order date got chopped off, my order number got chopped off, and as did, you know, a lot of times your item codes and my bill to name. So I'm going to come over here to the design tab. Now a couple of things. I've kind of run out of room on this, so maybe I'm going to change this to landscape. So I come in here to page setup, and that's, you know, pretty much like page setup anywhere, and I can do landscape. Now, something that I will tell you, if you tell me that you are only ever going to export this to Excel, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll pick 11 by 17. And I'll click OK. And as you can see, that gives me, you know, 16.5 inches of data that I can fill up. So that's, you know, something to think about. If you feel that you will never print this out, then you might, you know, do that. And the nice thing about that is you kind of get an opportunity to look at the actual information in your report versus waiting for it to come into Excel. Now you can certainly, you don't lose anything, you know, as you've seen, you don't lose anything. So if you cut off the bill to name in Crystal and you export it into Excel, it's going to be there. So I don't really need all that space. I was just, I wanted to let you know that's an option for you. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to just do letter, but I am going to leave it as landscape. So we are running a little behind. We are going to add one formula field, and our formula is going to be, I want to get the calculation of unit price and quantity ordered. So I'm going to call that extension amount. Now again, you don't have to, you can have spaces. My personal preference is not. I'm going to click on report fields. My calculation is original unit price times quantity ordered. And a lot of times you'll see us click this check. If I check, it'll tell me no errors found, but it also does the same thing when I do save and close. So now I've got a formula. I can drag this onto my surface, and now when I look at it, I see the extension amount, which is my original unit price times my original quantity ordered. I could also come in and add some totals. So if I wanted to sum the extension amount, right now my only option is my grand total. If I had put in, again, if I'd put in a grouping, I could do totals on the groups. And this button is really nice because it says add to all group levels. So if I had 3 or 4 different groupings, I wouldn't have to do a sum in each one. I could just click this checkbox, and that would add my sum to each of those groupings. So I'm going to click OK. Now when I preview it, I see that I have a total of all my extension amounts. Once I'm finished, I want to make sure that I save this report. I don't save data with the report, so I always make sure that I uncheck this box, and then I come back and I do save as, and I'm going to save this into my reports folder. And I'm just going to say this is my Tech Tuesday test. Oh, I already have one. So I'm going to save that. Yes, I want to replace it. The first time you won't have to do that. Now I can export this directly from Crystal. So I could do export. I want to export, and you've seen us do this, Microsoft Excel data only. I want to open it in the application. I click OK. I always do column width based upon the details. Click OK, and here we go. So again, even though my bill to name was cut off in Crystal, I can make my column wide and get that. Even though my order date was cut off, I get the entire order date. And so I can just come in here and make these columns wider as I need to. And then I can save this. I can do any kind of manipulation that I need to. I can email it to people that need this information, and this is available to me either in Excel, or it's always available to me in Crystal to run again. So I think our time is past due. Sue, do we have any other questions?
No, we do not have any other questions, but Suzanne, I'm telling you, every time I watch you, I learn something new. That was fantastic. Thank you so very much. As a reminder, we do record these sessions, so if anyone in your company had to either bump off or could not attend today, check out our website. Within the next couple of days, we'll have it out there. And was there anything else you wanted to add, Suzanne?
Well, I just want to give everybody a little teaser and put you on the spot and let them know that the next couple of Tech Tuesdays are going to be about all the new features in 2015. So I know everybody's going to want to come back and let you tell them about all the great things that are going to happen in 2015. And that's all I have.
All righty, everybody. Thank you for attending today, and we will be talking to you soon. Have a great day, and happy computing. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.